Exactly.
Rights weren't something people cared about so much 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
Because like I say, the whole publishing model was author writes the book, publishes it, put it in bookstores. That was pretty much all anybody did. So there's not too much issue with rights and that kind of thing because there wasn't too much else an author would do with it anyway.
Oh, but so there wasn't an alternative?
No, there really wasn't.
Right. Okay.
These days, whether you've self-published your book, whether you've written a novel, a book for your business, whatever you're doing, these days you won't meet an author who doesn't also want to do blogs and do a podcast and do a website and put chapters on, put sample chapters on social media and get their own following.
Chapters.
Exactly right.
Whereas previously, the light's gone on. The light's gone on now. So there are these different avenues for producing your content.
Yeah,
and
that's what creates the potential rights issues. Whereas 10, 15 years ago, like I say, I mean, not obviously some people might have had some rights issues, but on the whole, the publisher would say, "Here's the publicity you're doing, go and do it. Here's what we're doing with your book, go and do it." And the author would just be okay, and they'd trundle off.
But always driving back to
it was all controlled by the publisher.
And there was only one place and one format in which to buy the publication.
Yeah. So these days, part of, like we've been talking about, the kind of, splitting up of the publishing industry is authors can do all these things with their book now that they just couldn't do 10, 15 years ago. You wouldn't have even thought of it as an author 15 years ago. You just pretty much do what your publisher told you to do.
Yeah.
So the technology changes has led to all of those kind of rights issues. And some people do self-publish specifically to retain 100% control of their book. So, because if you self-publish, obviously, apart from, again, it's complicated, apart from, it may be with your designer and that sort of thing, there'll be copyright.
Right.
But in terms of using the content, putting it on your website, putting it on your blog, all that kind of thing, you can do whatever you want with it. It's your book. Yep.
Yeah.
So you both wrote it and published it. So there's no one to say you can't do that. Whereas if you're with a major publisher, or a medium-sized one, any kind of traditional publisher, they will have a say in whether you put the book on your website, sample chapters, that kind of thing. They will have a say in whether you create a podcast based on the book. They will have a say in, if you want to do a YouTube channel based on the book. They will have a contractual say. I mean, in some cases, they might even be able to say, you actually can't do that. Now, here's the thing. Don't take that at all as a criticism of traditional publishing. It is 100% reasonable.
Yes.
They paid to produce your book. That's why they have the rights in it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
they have acquired those rights from
exactly.
You. Yeah.
They've paid for it to be designed. Yeah. They've paid for it to be edited. They've paid for it to be printed. There is unfortunately a lot of self-publishing hype that criticizes the traditional publishers. Oh, they take your rights. They take you this. They take you that. The reason they do that is they're paying to produce the book.
Yes.
You can't expect them to pay to produce the book.
No.
And then for you to be able to run off and do whatever you want with it. That's just not reasonable.
That's having your cake and eating it.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
If you want full rights, you pay to produce the book, that's fine. If someone else pays to produce your book, they've got some say in what you do with it. People sometimes say to me, what's better, traditional publishing or self-publishing? I run a self-publishing business. I will not say to you automatically self-publishing.
Yeah.
The answer is going to be, what are you trying to do with your book?
Back to that original
It's
question.
what it always comes back to. What are you trying to do with your book? Now, I can come up with, for pretty much anything you want to do, I can come up with a self-publishing plan that will work for it. But there are other reasons that people might want to go with a traditional publisher, and maybe that's better for them.
Yeah.
This automatic criticism of publishers take all your rights and that kind of thing, it's just people trying to sell you self-publishing services most of the time. What I always say to authors, if they're thinking of going with a traditional publisher, but they do want to do blogs, they do want to do podcasts, in your very first meeting with that publisher, if you're lucky enough to get a conversation with them, say to them, write down what you want to do and sit across the table with them and say, I want to do these 12 things with my book. Can I do that contractually with you if I sign up with you? And if they say no, then they're not the right publisher for you.
Excellent.
It's actually a pretty easy choice. They might say, yeah, you can do these 7 things, you can't do these 5 things. And then that's up to you to say, well, okay, that's fine. They won't let me do a blog based on the book, okay. Because, if you think about it, and some authors do try and do this, they want to turn their book into a blog. You're actually just giving away all the content that the publisher's just paid $30,000 to produce. So, of course, they're not going to be happy with that. Whereas if you've self-published, you can turn it into a blog. That's absolutely fine.